Thank you for downloading this Brum Radio podcast. For more podcasts, visit brumradio.com.
And now, for your listening pleasure, it's the Brum Picture Show, brought to you by Brum Radio.
Hello, and welcome to the Brum Picture Show, the film show brought to you by Birmingham-based community cinema collective Screen B14. On this week's show, to celebrate another bite of the cherry and the Mockingbird Cinema's upcoming screening of House of Flying Daggers, we're going to be talking about our favourite martial arts films. My name is Paul Vernon, and unfortunately, co-presenter Rory was so excited by this topic choice this week that he went off into the mountains and is now being trained by an old Chinese man with elaborate facial hair in the ancient art of Kung Fu. You get it? Because Rory's a fool?
I thought you were going to be nice to him.
Well, he's not here.
That's why.
He's abandoned us to practice martial arts. He should be doing the show.
I actually wanted to do that, you know.
Well, I know, so did I. But I don't get to say, I'm not going to do this week, guys. I have to be here every week. You guys, it's my birthday. I want to practice martial arts. Honestly.
Are you going to introduce me?
Yeah, all right. Thankfully, though, this week I am rejoined by Nadine, who's just about recovered from celebrating her birthday at the club. She's Screen B14's butt-kicking filmmaking influencer, and the reason we are doing martial arts as a topic this week. When I suggested we did Paddington or Clint Eastwood instead, she beat me to a bloody pulp. Honestly, it's an impressive roundhouse kick she's got on her.
I really do.
Yeah, so I'm sorry, Paddington fans. I'm sorry, Clint Eastwood fans. It's martial arts this week, because who am I to argue with Nadine?
I am a red and white belt in karate.
Red and white?
Yeah, so if you don't know how the belt system works...
I don't, to be honest.
White is everyone's white when you begin.
Yeah.
And red and white is like... the first one.
Right, that's still scary enough.
Yeah, so I'm just slightly more better than a beginner.
Slightly more better than a beginner. Well,
yeah.
that's still slightly more better than me. Well, thank you very much for joining me, Nadine. It's lovely to have you back on the show. First up, as always, it is time for the news section. So anything catch your eye in the news this week, Nadine?
Yeah. You'll like this.
Yeah?
You're a fan of Planet of the Apes.
Yeah, apes.
And you love Snoop Dogg.
Oh, this isn't what... Go on.
So Snoop Dogg says he's currently working on a movie inspired by Planet of the Apes.
Yeah.
Again, this was reported in Variety. And he said, just imagine it with dogs instead of apes. That's his...
That's your elevator pitch right there, isn't it? Yeah.
So imagine Planet of the Apes. Yeah, I'm imagining it.
Yeah, I am too.
Imagine that with dogs.
Wow. Dogs riding horses. Carrying guns.
Reminds me a lot of that scene in Kinds of Kindness.
When the dog rides the horse.
Well, there's that dog world.
Oh, yes, of course, the dog world scene. Yeah, that was great.
That was the
best bit. Yeah, how could I forget about that?
So imagine that, but for like 2 hours.
Maybe that's where Snoop got the idea. But he is called Snoop Dogg, so I suppose he's
probably always has dogs on his mind.
Yeah, bless him. Except for when he was a lion.
Yes.
Now, children, you may remember at some point Snoop Dogg became Snoop Lion for a few months, was it?
It's like an album, wasn't it?
An album, yeah.
Yeah.
So, but
I guess he's Snoop Dogg again now.
Yeah, and they've already made The Lion King, so there we go. Well, I look forward to that. That reminds me quickly, as an aside. Did you read there was that real life Planet of the Apes that like 40 or so research monkeys escaped from a research facility somewhere?
No, that sounds like 12 monkeys.
No, there was 40 of them.
Okay, 40 monkeys.
40 monkeys.
Is it the sequel?
Yes. Yeah, it is. So hopefully they'll be getting up to some mischief, these monkeys. I mean, they've probably been tracked down and destroyed by now, but...
I hope it isn't an indicator of the impending apocalypse.
I mean, it almost certainly is. I think everything's an indicator of the impending apocalypse. Very good. Anything else, Nadine, news-wise?
Ridley Scott
Yeah.
He's
been saying loads of stuff.
He's been saying so much stuff. I don't know where to start, actually.
Yeah.
So where do we start with what Ridley Scott's been saying? So, obviously Gladiator 2 is coming out and I cannot wait. If it had come out, we will be covering it.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, this show has been recorded before that's been released. But we will, don't worry. Yeah. We're going to have a whole load of Gladiator news for you soon.
We are.
But Ridley Scott has been talking up Gladiator 3.
Yeah.
Gladiator 2 isn't even out yet.
Yeah.
And he's already on Gladiator 3. And this is really funny because I was saying to somebody, I've followed Ridley's work for a long time. I think he's been looking for a franchise for years. He tried to make Alien into a franchise, Blade Runner. That didn't work out.
Well, maybe not on Ridley's terms.
Not on Ridley's terms, yeah.
No.
But Gladiator, I think he's thought this is the next. I want to see a whole Gladiator cinematic universe. I'm there for it.
Yeah.
But he's talking about Gladiator 3 basically, and he said it will be inspired by The Godfather Part 2. Now I don't know what that means because I haven't seen Gladiator 2.
No.
So I don't know who the Godfather is. I don't know how that's coming into it, but who knows?
Who knows?
It sounds amazing. I'm already there. I've pre-booked my tickets. I can't wait to see it.
Me neither. But yeah, he's been talking about a lot of things, hasn't he? So he's going to direct a Western as well. He's going to be directing this post-apocalyptic pandemic film with Paul Mescal set in a hangar of some sort. And he's doing other things. And, he's 87. He's got a lot. He's got a lot to do.
Yeah. He's not slowing down. I read some news somewhere and it says he's not retiring. That was the news.
He's not retiring. That's the news.
Yeah, I was like, great.
Yeah.
I love the way he works with somebody and then before that film's even finished, he's immediately like got another script under their nose. Like, oh, Paul, check this out. Like he did the same when he did The Last Duel with Adam Driver. And
then did House of Gucci
and then he was
away.
Like, House of Gucci.
It's an obvious transition.
Yeah, it does that a lot. So I admire, I think, that's something to take on board. If you've got a hot actor and you're working with them, immediately sign them up for something else before that thing's even out.
That's right.
Like, just really lock them down.
Like Ty West with Mia Goth.
Exactly. She's never escaping him, is she?
No, never. But yeah, Ridley definitely has no plans to retire, and he's also been commenting on Quentin Tarantino and his comments about retiring after a 10th movie, which we've spoken about many, many times on this show. But his response to Quentin, shut up, go make another movie. Because Ridley Scott's from Yorkshire, canonically on this show. As we must remind you.
Because I told you that he was, but he's not.
He's from South Shields, but I can't do Geordie, so therefore Ridley is Yorkshire. But
I can't do geography, obviously.
But yeah, he doesn't believe it. And he said, I don't believe that bull. Shut up, go make another movie. Quentin wrote a few things with my brother. They got along great. I'm not sure I've met him. They have met.
Yeah.
There's video evidence.
Quite some time talking together and a Hollywood Reporter roundtable, which is really worth a watch. It's a great
Yeah, but I wonder how Quentin feels about that. I mean, he probably doesn't care, but still, that's funny.
I think it's very funny.
Ridley Scott is just so cool that he doesn't even remember meeting Quentin Tarantino and having hours long conversation with him. So there you go. So yeah, that's Ridley news. So news. I mean, there's not been anything that's majorly excited me, to be honest. There's going to be a spin-off of The Fly. David Cronenberg's The Fly. So,
is David Cronenberg involved?
No, I don't think so. But yeah, apparently Nanny filmmaker Nikiatu Yusu. I don't know. I've never seen Nanny.
I have.
Is it good?
Up until the end, and the end kind of ruins the entire film for me. But I would be interested in seeing what else she's got up her sleeve.
Well, that's promising. But yeah, apparently she's developing something to do with The Fly.
You sound really filled.
I mean, it's just like, I'm just fed up of this mining intellectual property. It's just what we can do now. But yeah, sources have stressed that it's set in the universe of Cronenberg's film rather than a straightforward remake. What does that even mean? The universe of the first film is just this universe. It's just Jeff Goldblum's a scientist, and he's very clever. Verse. Yeah, but it's just
everything's got to be a universe now.
I know, the Fly universe.
Except the only universe that's really worked is the Marvel one, and Star Wars, I guess, is a universe.
Yeah, literally. I guess so.
Universal Monsters universe didn't work.
Yeah,
we don't know if the Poonaverse is going to work.
No.
Gladiatorverse.
No.
Predatorverse.
Yeah.
Just too
many verses.
Yeah, Barbieverse will probably be the next one.
Yeah. I don't know. We're doomed. I'm sure this might be okay, but I'm not particularly thrilled.
Let's get some original.
Yeah, The Fly is a perfect film. At least they're not remaking The Fly again, because obviously David Cronenberg's version was a remake. But yeah.
Well, there you go.
I'm just like, well,
you're complaining.
Yeah, but sometimes they're the best things ever.
And The Thing was a remake. The Shining was a book. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, all right. Okay. I'm sure this is going to be wonderful. I have every faith that the Flyniverse is going to be worth watching. But yeah, speaking of Barbie, as you mentioned a second ago, obviously you've heard about Mattel is Barbie, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Obviously you've heard about Mattel's faux pas.
Oh, yeah.
With some of their wicked merchandise. There's been a major oversight in that they accidentally put a link to a pornographic adult website on their wicked dolls and stuff.
Yeah.
Which has caused some problems, obviously. People are a little bit upset about this because
this is what's going to happen when AI is in control of everything.
Yeah,
because it's just going to go. Yeah, I mean, I don't know if this was an AI or a human error.
Yeah, I mean, who knows? I mean, obviously legally cannot say it was a deliberate mistake on someone's part, but I mean, it could be. It could be like the equivalent of when in The Lion King that the animators that snuck in. Some rude imagery into the stars or whatever.
I think there's a difference between something that's like a second of something subliminal that most people won't notice.
Yeah.
I thought, because I didn't know what the website was, I don't know that we should say it on air.
No, most articles have avoided it, but I went on it. It's not that bad.
But basically, when I saw the headline, I was like, how is that even possible? Like, how could so? But I can see how they did it because it's very close to the name of the film. Yeah. Basically. It's basically the name of the film. So someone who didn't do their due diligence probably just assumed that was the address of the film.
I mean, it's possible that they were trying to buy that domain name back. Mm-hmm. But yeah, apparently I think the owner of that website has had it since the 90s or something like that. Yeah. So maybe they thought they'd be able to get it in time for release and that this would be the actual official website. But as it stands, it's not. It's something that you don't want children to be going on. So yeah, this has caused a big hoo-ha, and yes, all of these things have been recalled from the shops and whatnot, and they've put out a statement advising parents to just get rid of the packaging or cover it up,
Don't go on this website.
No, because, I mean, I'm sure not many children are going to go, let's put in this website.
Kids even type in website addresses.
Kids don't know what a website is anymore. If it's not,
on
TikTok, then it's meaningless. They don't know how to type.
They can't read.
They just know how to scroll. So there we go. But I don't know. I thought that was amusing. But the funnier thing as well, apparently the erroneous packages have been popping up on eBay for $100 to $800.
Oh, dang.
So, I mean, can you imagine spending $800 on
I wish I'd bought one now.
Yeah, just a toy with a porn website written on it. It's like, okay, there you go.
It's like, it's rare now, isn't it?
Yeah,
it's destroying them.
Dang.
Well, if you find any of these and it has the original website on it, bang it on eBay.
You are listening to the Brum Picture Show on Brum Radio, and today, to celebrate another bite of the cherry and the Mockingbird Cinema's upcoming screening of House of Flying Daggers, we're going to be talking about martial arts films. Now, I'll admit, I don't know much about martial arts films, but Nadine, she is the martial arts expert, though.
The master.
The master with her red and white belt. So Nadine, she's going to educate me and you, the audience, in martial arts films.
I will. Now, I know often you like to say, what is martial arts, etc. So I'm not going to get into that.
Oh, no semantic debate.
No, basically, martial arts is any type of like fighting technique that, has rules and sort of signature moves.
Mm-hmm.
And martial arts exist all over the world. There are many, many schools of martial arts. Often these films are called Kung Fu films as well.
Mm-hmm.
We're not using the term Kung Fu because Kung Fu is a specific type of martial arts. It's one type of many, many. So you've got things like Qigong, Tai Chi is a type of martial arts, karate, judo. So there are many, many different schools. Another term you might see is wuxia, which is a Chinese term. Sometimes this is for a specific category of martial arts films, which are the swordplay and chivalry type films that we're going to get into. But sometimes this can just mean any martial arts film. So I think martial arts is just a good overall label that we're going to use. Mm. I'm going to focus a lot on Hong Kong cinema because that's, the country that exported so many martial arts films and made the genre really popular. But again, like I said, there are so many. There's capoeira, there's Jeet Kune Do, there's, we've got our own martial arts. We've got Cornish wrestling, don't you know? Wrestling's a type of martial art.
Oh, I hope Mark Jenkins makes that his next film.
Yeah, even boxing, it could be argued as a type of martial art, but I'm not going to get into the Rocky movies because it's too much. It's too much. But yeah, I'm going to focus mostly on Hong Kong. So as you may know, Hong Kong was under British rule for 100 years. So they had this deal with the Chinese. And whilst Hong Kong was under British rule, cinema flourished. Unfortunately, a lot of the very early films were destroyed when the Japanese invaded during World War II. So I don't have lots to say about early Hong Kong cinema. But there were some silent films that incorporated martial arts. I think the earliest silent film to incorporate martial arts was actually a Japanese film because they have their own history of martial arts. Like I said, karate, judo, they're Japanese schools of martial arts. In 1963, the British governors of Hong Kong said that all films had to be produced with English subtitles. And this meant that martial arts films were more accessible to international audiences because, English was a more international language at the time. We have directors like King Hu, who revived the genre with films like Come Drink With Me and A Touch of Zen. So he elevated the genre to artistic heights. So this is what they call martial art house, if you will. So they're really beautiful, sort of classical films. But there was an explosion of films in the 70s with studios like the Shaw Brothers and Golden Harvest. Many of these films were kind of formulaic. They were shot in a studio. They were fairly cheap. They were often poorly dubbed. And when a lot of people think of martial arts films, they think of those movies. And they've got, a strange sort of artificial feel to them, but they're very stylized and they're very fun. And they were very popular. And, as time went on, I think Golden Harvest began to experiment with different genres like horror and comedy, incorporating that into the martial arts as well. But really, martial arts became popular in the West because of one man, Bruce Lee. He was just a huge star. He went over to America. He worked in TV and he starred in a number of films. Unfortunately, he died very young, so we don't know what he would have gone on to do. But he really popularized the genre of martial arts films in the West, but also the practice of martial arts as well, because he was a martial artist himself. He'd studied under Ip Man. If that name sounds familiar to you, that's because there are a bunch of films about him as well. He was a really interesting character. Donnie Yen portrays him in about, 3 or 4 films. Tony Leung Chiu Wai plays him as well. He was a traditional martial artist who brought that to the attention of more people. But there were other superstars of martial arts films, think of Jackie Chan, who mixed comedy with martial arts really effectively. Jackie Chan was one of the 3 dragons, which included Sammo Hung and Yuen Biao, and they starred in 6 films together. They started off in the Peking Opera School, so their martial arts came from a theatrical tradition. And I found out today that they were part of a troupe known as the Seven Little Fortunes. So when they were kids, they did martial arts performances abroad and in China. They were very popular. There were other little fortunes that grew up and became movie stars like Corey Yuen and Yuan Chiu. And they also started off as extras in movies before getting their own movies. But yeah, Jackie Chan, of course, blends martial arts with comedy. Films like Drunken Master, Project A, Police Story series. He's very inspired by silent movie stars such as Buster Keaton. Incorporates that into his films and is very well known for his stunt work and all the bones that he's broken in his body, which is basically nearly all of them. But you can draw a direct line from Jackie Chan to movies like the Mission Impossible series. I don't think we would have, Tom Cruise's blend of action, comedy, stunts and fighting if we didn't have Jackie Chan. Jackie Chan went to Hollywood like Bruce Lee, started off with films like Rumble in the Bronx, and of course, the Rush Hour series of movies, which were hugely successful. The golden age of martial arts and Hong Kong cinema were the 80s and the 90s. It was the most prolific film industry outside Hollywood at the time, producing around 400 films a year. But began to face a slowdown due to political and economic reasons that I'm not going to go into. But we saw the rise of people like Michelle Yeoh, who we've seen recently in Everything Everywhere All at Once. And she was a Bond girl as well in the 90s. So she, again, another international superstar. And Jet Li, who's a favourite of mine, he was actually a medal-winning trained martial arts athlete. So like Bruce Lee, he had that martial arts background. Then we saw Western stars like Steven Seagal, Jean-Claude Van Damme starting to rise as well in the 80s and the 90s, obviously influenced by these Hong Kong superstars. You see directors like John Woo making that crossover into the West as well. So John Woo, very well known for his heroic bloodshed movies, or films sometimes labelled as gun fu. So John Wick is a gun fu film.
Yeah, maybe I'll talk about that in a bit.
Yeah, so again, we wouldn't have John Wick, we wouldn't have Mission Impossible if we didn't have these Hong Kong superstars. In fact, John Woo actually directed the second Mission Impossible film, so there's a direct line there as well. He also directed Face Off.
Yay!
Yeah, and you can see his influence on filmmakers like Paul Verhoeven, James Cameron, Quentin Tarantino. Basically, if there's a lot of action, if there's a lot of people getting gunned down in slow motion and there are doves in the background.
Gotta be doves.
It has to be doves. That's John Woo. But John Woo worked with stars like Chow Yun-fat, who again crossed over, went to America, Contract Killers, Bulletproof Monk, and so on. And it wasn't long before action choreographers made that move to America as well. So Yuen Wu-ping, who was a director in his own right, but also a stunt coordinator, action choreographer, actually did the fight work on The Matrix. So all that wire work. Now, Hong Kong martial arts films are very sort of tied up with this wire work. So the actors, the performers wear wires so they can do more impressive jumps and flips and things like that. Sometimes it's very exaggerated and it looks almost like they're flying. But yeah, so he brought his wire fu skills to The Matrix and even worked on Kill Bill. Interesting thing about Kill Bill, a lot of that was actually shot in Hong Kong, working with people from the industry. And Quentin Tarantino said that the way they shoot action over there is different to how we do in the West. So if you're shooting an American movie, you're going to shoot everything from one angle. get that right. You're going to change the camera angle and shoot it from another angle. And it's very efficient. But the way they do it in Hong Kong, he says they'll come up with a sequence of, say, 4 moves. And then that 4th move will become the first move of the next sequence. And then they'll change angles then. So it's a very organic process and they take much longer. They spend much more time on the action. It's not all decided beforehand. If you've got martial arts performers, like people with a martial arts background, like Donnie Yen, Jet Li, Bruce Lee, they're going to be actively involved in that choreography as well. Not all the martial arts superstars you see are trained in martial arts as extensively as those guys. But when you're working with people who basically can do it, they can, influence it and change it, and it's more flexible. And if you look at how they're shot as well, there isn't so much editing, because you watch something like Taken, Liam Neeson, who's I love, can't do all of that.
No, it takes 12 cuts to get him over a fence.
Exactly. So they don't have to do that in a lot of these martial arts films, which is why they're so much more impressive, because a lot of the times these stars are martial artists or gymnasts or dancers and can do a lot of that stuff themselves. But Jet Li crossed over to America as well. They all went to America. Unfortunately, he had a run-in with the Triads, which is the Hong Kong local mafia, who were quite heavily involved in the movie industry at the time. People said that movies were just getting pumped out. A lot of money was going into it, Triad money. Jet Li didn't want to be involved, I guess, and he went to America and he was like, I'm not doing these movies anymore. I'm not going to get involved. I'm going to go. He learned English, went over to the States, starred as a bad guy in Lethal Weapon 4.
Yeah, I remember that. That was one of the first films I saw.
Yeah, in your life.
Yeah. No, I have a distinct memory, because I saw Lethal Weapon 4 before I saw any of the other Lethal Weapon films. I just have a distinct memory of seeing a clip of it in like a TV shop or something like that. And then I think, I got it on VHS. And I just remember there's this bit with Joe Pesci and Jet Li, and there's loads of fire. Mel Gibson's there.
I think he kicks Rene Russo in the face.
Right.
That's something that I remember. But he was told to make that crossover into America, you got to play a bad guy first. Come and play a bad guy, get your ass kicked by Mel Gibson, which is obviously never going to happen in real life. But, allow Mel Gibson to kick your butt and then you can play the hero. And he did play a hero in the film Hero, which was China's most expensive film at the time. But he made a lot of films in America, films like Romeo Must Die, with my favourite singer, R&B princess Aaliyah. Now, when that came out, that blew my mind, because I was like, my favourite singer, my favourite martial arts, superstar in a film together. This was written for me. But he also starred in films with DMX, the rapper, films like Exit Wounds, which also had Steven Seagal in. Hip-hop and R&B have long had a love affair with each other. Artists such as Wu-Tang Clan, who took their name from the 1983 film Shaolin and Wu-Tang, starring Gordon Liu. Gordon Liu also starred in Kill Bill, and RZA from Wu-Tang did the score. So that's a nice little circular thing there. But Hong Kong's dominance started to wane. As you can see, a lot of the stars, a lot of the actors, a lot of the directors were kind of going over to America. America was learning how to do action. They were learning from these superstars, and Hollywood films began to dominate the international market. Hong Kong had been handed back to China, and so they started to work more with mainland directors, people like Zhang Yimou. So in the 2000s, we saw Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon bring back that martial art house genre. So that was a Hollywood and China co-production. It was an epic movie, beautifully shot, big budget, blending martial arts action with art house sensibilities and international stars. So we had Michelle Yeoh and Chow Yun-fat. Chow Yun-fat, not known for his martial arts films. He was a action star and a drama performer, but he was well known abroad. So he became a martial arts superstar. And that just set off a whole spate of epic martial arts films. So with art house directors like Zhang Yimou and Wong Kar-wai getting in on the action, and performers like Tony Leung Chiu-wai, Takeshi Kaneshiro, Gong Li, and Maggie Chung, known for their straight acting as well, realising that this martial arts thing is quite popular abroad. So we had films like Hero, House of Flying Daggers, Red Cliff, Curse of the Golden Flower, and Grandmaster. And I think people realised martial arts is like an international language. You don't need, just like any kind of action or musicals or dancing, you can enjoy it whatever language you speak. And they realised, let's get some of these huge stars, let's get some of this international money, let's put it together with some martial arts and take over the world. So yeah, it's not just Hong Kong making those films anymore. Everybody's kung fu fighting, just like in the song. We even see martial arts crossover into animation with the Kung Fu Panda series. So martial arts as a genre, it could be comedy, can be horror, animation, mix anything in with it. It's great.
Bet if Rory was here, he'd have chosen Kung Fu Panda.
Definitely.
Yeah. I mean, to be honest, I nearly chose.
It's a really good film.
I've never actually seen it. I was actually thinking about watching it and doing it for this episode, but then I didn't.
The first one is actually really good, and I really like the original. I think it was meant to be a hand-drawn animation originally, and they didn't stick to that. But the opening sequence is, and it's so beautifully done, and it is quite funny.
Yeah.
Skidoo. Skidoosh.
Oh, well, and that is my academic contribution to this discussion, is saying that I've yet to watch Kung Fu Panda. You are listening to the Brum Picture Show on Brum Radio, and today we are talking about martial arts films. We've just heard Nadine give an introduction to the genre, if you will, and now she is going to tell us about a film in said genre. Yeah, so if you don't know, I'm another bite of the cherry, basically. So this is my first ever solo screening. I did a screening with Screen B14 recently, but this is my first ever solo screening. Please do show. It's really worth a watch, and it's a film that needs to be seen on the big screen. It's not on streaming at the moment, and it's the 20th anniversary, which is why I've chosen this, because there's so many other great martial arts films. Like, there are endless choices I could have made. Some wonderful Jet Li films like Fists of Legend and Once Upon a Time in China. Brilliant films, but I chose this because I think it's not as well known as some of the other films, but this is really beautiful, and I think it's a hidden gem, and I think it's really worth watching. It's set in 859 AD during the decline of the Tang dynasty. I don't know much about Chinese history, I'm going to be honest, but it's kind of medieval-y times, basically. And there is a certain, if we're going to draw some analogies, a Robin Hood aspect to this. So basically, without giving too much away, because there's lots of twists and turns in the plot, and I don't want to spoil it for anyone who hasn't seen the film before, we've got three characters, one played by Zhang Ziyi, who is blind, and she works in a brothel, and we have these two soldiers who are basically like police officers who work for the state, and they're fighting against the Flying Daggers, who are this band of rebels, this gang, if you will. And Zhang Ziyi's character Mei is the daughter of the former gang leader, and the House of Flying Daggers gang has a new leader.
they want to find out who he is, and that's how these characters all become involved with each other. So it also stars Andy Lau, who isn't a martial artist. He's known for his action movies. He's known for films like Infernal Affairs, which was the inspiration for the Departed movies.
The Departed.
Yeah, he's a great actor. I love him. He's an icon in China and Hong Kong. And Takeshi Kaneshiro, who you may know from Wong Kar-wai's Chungking Express. And he's also an idol in Hong Kong. But yeah, great actors, first and foremost. So whereas a lot of films sort of the martial arts overtakes the drama really is the center of this, and the romance and the kind of love triangle that develops. It's really exquisitely gorgeous. It's sumptuous. We've got costumes by Emi Wada, a Japanese costume designer who worked with Akira Kurosawa. The score is by Shigeru Umbayashi. It's really emotive. It's really beautiful. There's a wonderful dance sequence with Zhang Ziyi. She was a trained dancer before she got into movies, and she really showcases her skills in this movie. She even sings as well. It reminds me to some degree of an old school Hollywood musical, because it's got that level of sort of production design and just that exquisite, gorgeous sort of eye candy look about it. It's very feminine. There's a lot of pastel colours. Zhang Yimou is very well known for his use of colour in films. He trained as a cinematographer when he started out before becoming a director. And just the colours in this movie are just beyond amazing. The cinematography is fantastic. It was actually nominated for an Academy Award for Best Cinematography in 2004 and was nominated for 9 BAFTA awards. So this is a really high-end production. It's gorgeous to look at. It's got a great story. Some fantastic, charismatic performers in the lead roles. And it sounds great too. Even the sound production is amazing in this. So it's just top quality. The film was shot in China and in Ukraine. At the time, Andy Lau asked Zhang Yimou why he chose to shoot in Ukraine, and the director said that he felt that war had left a trace on that location that would be picked up on the camera. Obviously, unfortunately now, Ukraine is fighting another war, but it's a beautiful country. It's really showcased in this film. The exquisite production design only matches the natural beauty on show in this film. So we see these gorgeous bamboo forests shot in China. We see these beautiful silver birch forests shot in Ukraine. It's all set in China, but obviously some of it was shot in Europe as well. And they even incorporated some of that into the film. So it snowed really early, earlier than expected in October when they were filming this film. And instead of waiting and coming back when the snow had thawed, they just worked it into the movie. So there's this gorgeous sequence at the end. There's a fight scene in the snow. There's blood flying around. It's slow motion. It's gorgeous. And I was really shocked to find out that that wasn't what they'd originally planned to do, because it feels so integral to the film. It feels so like, of course they're going to shoot this scene in the snow, that it's weird to think that it was just a happy accident. But yeah, absolutely exquisite film. I can't sing its praises highly enough. Please come and see it.
Yes, please do. Please do.
It's 8 p.m. on the 18th of November at the Mockingbird.
Mm-hmm. And if you're listening to the repeat, buy a ticket anyway. Just send Nadine and the Mockingbird Cinema some money.
There were many amazing things going on at Mockingbird Cinema, which I'll talk about later.
Yeah. There we go. Thank you very much for that, Nadine. Now it's time for me to talk about a film. And as I said, I must admit, I'm really not up on my martial arts films. And like most of my exposures to martial arts films have come via Quentin Tarantino, to be honest. So yeah, I am going to talk about, as Nadine mentioned earlier, John Wick.
But I think that's okay, because it's martial arts.
It is martial artsy, although I rewatched the original John Wick from 2014, another 2014 film, which Nadine always sings the praises of.
Best year in cinema.
Yeah.
Not 99.
We beg to differ, but yeah, no, it's a solid year. So yeah, it is the 10th anniversary of John Wick, so it does seem appropriate to talk about. And yes, it does get spoken about as a gun fu film, and there is lots of gun fu-y stuff, as we mentioned earlier. That's kind of, it's fighting, but with guns.
That's it, basically.
Popularized by John Woo and various other people. But watching the original, I must say, it's really not that martial artsy. It's not very gun fu-y, because the franchise really expands, and it's quite interesting going back to watch this one, because in comparison, it's so small scale and relatively restrained compared to the later ones. So yeah, I'll be honest, this doesn't actually fit into the genre as well as my memory told me, but the other films in the franchise certainly do. But yeah, the original one, I mean, if you don't know what John Wick is, of course you know what John Wick is, but hey, if you don't, it follows John Wick. Played by Keanu Reeves, and he's an infamous assassin who has gotten out of the game after falling in love. But unfortunately, his wife dies, but she gifts him a dog from the afterlife. And then some pesky Russians turn up, led by Alfie Allen, my doppelganger. Yes, Alfie Allen is a pesky Russian.
Lily Allen's brother, Alfie Allen.
And Keith Allen's son. He's a Russian. In
is
this,
he?
Yep, in this he is. But yeah, he turns up with some of his Russian mates, and they steal John Wick's car, which is a 1969 Mustang, if you like cars. But worse, they kill his dog.
Oh my God, you can't kill a dog. That's like the worst cinema sin.
Exactly.
It's worse than killing a child.
It really is. And that is a big mistake, because you don't mess with John Wick. Because basically, John Wick, they say he's not the boogeyman. He's the one you send after the boogeyman.
I don't even know what that means.
Means he's a badass.
He kicks butt.
He kicks butt. Honestly, it's great, because so much about this first film in particular is just building up the legend of John Wick, because basically word spreads amongst the crime underworld that these guys have killed John Wick's dog, and everyone's just like, oh no, you shouldn't have done that. What do you kill John Wick's dog for? So the father of Alfie Allen, he finds out about this, and he's like, oh dear. And he explains that you got to be scared of John Wick, because he once saw him kill 3 men in a bar with a pencil. A pencil, he says. So yeah, so the first act of this, it's like, well, obviously starts with John just being, oh, my wife's dead, and then, oh no, they've killed my dog, and then yeah, it's all about building up this suspense of the legend that is John Wick, and just everyone going, oh no, John Wick's coming. That's not good. We're going to be in trouble when John Wick gets here. And sure enough, they're in a lot of trouble when John Wick gets there, because he's very murderous. Yeah. He's really good at fighting, and he's really good at shooting people in the face. And he does both of those things
at the same time
a lot. So yeah, but they killed his dog, so it's all right.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, you can kill all these people, and it's like even the police don't mess with him. So yeah, it's on the surface, this is just a run-of-the-mill revenge film, but there's something very special about John Wick, and I think the reason it became such a sleeper hit is the world building in it, because it's obviously the franchise balloons into this ridiculous
the John Wickiverse.
Yeah, John Wickiverse kind of thing. And then by the time we get to the fourth, so this is only an hour and 45 minutes long, and then by the time we get to the fourth one, that's about nearly 3 hours long. And they really expand on this criminal underworld, because they've got their own currency, they got their own hotel where where all the underworld people go to, yeah. And there's very specific rules in the John Wick universe. And it's just interesting going back to this one, because I don't think I've seen it since it came out, to be honest. But yeah, just seeing all the little germs and then seeing where it leads. But yeah, this is basically just quite stripped back as the original. And it's got a great cast. Completely forgot that Willem Dafoe
is in everything.
He's in everything. But yeah, he's in the first one. Ian McShane, of course, Lovejoy, who would be a major part of the franchise going forward. Just great stuff. But yeah, essentially, it is just a black comedy revenge film, and it's all about Keanu, man, because Keanu, he's cool.
He is cool.
Yeah, he's the epitome of cool. And the great
and he
thing...
knows Kung Fu.
Exactly. So presumably he learned a lot of Kung Fu from training for The Matrix. But I also wonder if that's the kind of thing Keanu would know anyway.
He just downloaded it into his brain one day, apparently.
Exactly. Originally, Bruce Willis was going to be John Wick for a little while. And then he dropped out. And then somehow Keanu got on board. And then he got in touch with his friends from The Matrix, Chad Stahelski and David Leitch, who had worked with him as stunt coordinators and performers on The Matrix, and he brought them on board. And they basically co-directed the film in a way, and of course they went on to take over the franchise, but they were heavily involved in choreographing everything. And that is the thing about what makes John Wick so good. This is very well put together. So there's no super quick editing and shaky camera where you don't know what's going on. It's nice long shots and you can see what's happening, which is great. And then some of these like gun sequences, they're just so balletic and just it is a dance, but with shooting people in the face.
Exactly. So they are like musicals, except the music is replaced with murdering people.
Yeah, exactly.
But in a really stylized, aesthetic way.
Mm-hmm. I don't tend to go for that kind of thing, but here it's just like, look at him, shoot him in the face. It's such a nice way. And
it's so gorgeously done. Yes. Is the important thing.
Yes, exactly.
It's aesthetic.
So and there's so many inventive kills, and they made a point of making sure that Keanu's gun, he shot it as many times as he would have bullets in the magazine, and then he'd reload. So loads of it is just about the choreography of when he reloads, and there's just attention to detail, because obviously a lot of films, people have just got unlimited magazines in their guns apparently. I just love the tone of it. I just think it's just a proper good romp. There's something special about it that elevates it above your standard revenge flick. As evidenced by the legacy that it's had.
There's a spin-off with that very attractive woman.
Ana de Armas.
Yeah, Ana de Armas.
Yeah, ballerina.
That's not out yet, is it?
No, and then there's The Continental, which is a TV show about the hotel where they stay out. And it's insane. So it's amazing that this kind of throwaway.
It's nice to see that martial arts films are alive and well.
Yeah, exactly.
In some capacity.
With Keanu on board. Apologies for not having a niche film to talk about, but there you go. It's John Wick.
Yeah.
Got to talk about that for a bit.
Well, Rory could have been here and he could have talked about the entire Once Upon a Time in China trilogy. Yeah. Which I know he loves.
Oh, does he?
No. I don't. Maybe he does. But they're good. Yeah. But yeah, if you want to see some of the films that inspired John Wick, check out John Woo, Ringo Lam, a bunch of heroic bloodshed films, anything starring Chow Yun-fat from the 80s, basically.
Yeah.
City on Fire, things like that. Amazing.
Yeah. You are listening to the Brum Picture Show on Brum Radio. And now, the reviews section. Shall we start with Juror number 2?
Yeah.
Okay. Very good. So Juror number 2, it's Clint Eastwood's 40th film. The legend, 94 years old.
Clint Eastwood.
Still going. So this has caused a little bit of controversy in the States because it's only received a limited release from Warner Brothers, and the plan was to just dump it on Max, which is pretty mad considering it's a Clint film.
It might be his last ever.
It might be his last ever. It's been getting good reviews. And when you consider that Clint Eastwood has grossed over $4 billion for Warner Brothers over the years, you think the least they could do was, put it in some cinemas. But apparently Clint was all right with it. But of course he was. He was just like, hey, Clint, can we just put your film on Max? He's like, okay, where's my Cheez-Its? And that's it.
Clint Eastwood loves Cheez-Its.
He loves Cheez-Its. And there's reports of Clint just eating Cheez-Its on set whilst making this film, which I think's great. But yeah, thankfully over here, it's received a wide release, and Nadine and I got to see it at the Odeon. So we're going to be very cagey about the plot. So I unfortunately knew where it was going to an extent, because I just thought that was the premise of the film. But Nadine, you didn't know, did you?
Well, I just went to see just known it was a courtroom drama, basically.
Yeah.
So we're not. I've asked that we don't get too into the plot because when I was watching it, there were some nice surprises, and I don't want to spoil that for anyone else.
No, it's
Any
true.
idiots like me who just go along to the cinema blank-minded.
No, that is the way to do it, because I remember it was the same with Trap, the M. Night Shyamalan film. If that premise hadn't been explained in the trailer, that would have been such a good experience. But no, I mean, they do give it away too early in the film anyway. So yeah, we're going to be cagey about the plot. I'm sure many won't. But all you need to know is it's about Nicholas Hoult. He's got a baby on the way with his wife. He
is Juror number 2. So don't worry if you haven't seen Juror number 1.
Yeah.
Because there isn't one.
There isn't one. It's just
him. He is Juror number 2.
Exactly. But yeah, he gets called for jury service, and then moral dilemmas and an exploration of ethics ensues.
Yeah, it's definitely a moral dilemma movie.
Mm-hmm.
And it's the kind of film that if you go and see it with someone, you'll come out and you'll be debating it afterwards. Yeah. For sure. Like what you would have done in that situation, etc.
Yes, it's safe to say Nadine and I had different interpretations of the morality of the film. But yeah, so this is classic Clint, really, in that it's an examination of the American justice system and just American politics in general, because that's what he does. Because Clint's, he's a Republican. He's definitely, a right of centre, to say the least. But he likes, in lots of his films, even like Dirty Harry and stuff like Absolute Power, he's constantly interrogating his own politics, which I like. And, that's what this film is, really. It's questioning the justice system, but it's still saying that it is the best we've got, pretty much.
Yeah. So it's a good old-fashioned courtroom drama, isn't it?
Yeah.
I was a little bit disappointed because I felt like he could have, got a bit more drama out of it.
Mm-hmm.
I think efficient is a word I've heard a lot. So you said he's very efficient.
Yes,
another friend of mine said it was very efficient. And if you want to see an efficient film, that's fine.
Yeah, because that's what Clint does. He just turns up, he just gets the films made, he gets them in. So he often gets them in under budget and under time, and he makes his crew work French hours, which is basically 10-hour days, no lunch break, and that's it.
Just
off you go. Just Cheez-Its. And
so if that's important to you, that a film gets in under budget and on time, then you'll appreciate it. I felt like some of the performances could have done with a few extra takes. I know Clint likes, one and done if possible, 3 maximum, I think.
Yeah, he's the opposite of Fincher, really, isn't it?
It's the exact opposite.
That'll
of Fincher.
do.
Was it in focus? Print it. But yeah, so I think some of the, I really rate Nicholas Hoult as an actor. I think he's fantastic in The Great. He's very hilariously funny. I didn't realise until after I watched the film that, of course, he and Toni Collette starred together in About a Boy. Yeah,
Toni Collette's in this film. She's the prosecuting attorney.
Many years ago, I'd seen that film. I just forgot that they were in it together.
Me too. Yeah.
So it's a reuniting of them two. Mm-hmm. And Toni Collette, I believe, is also a really excellent actress. And
J.K. Simmons is there as well.
J.K. Simmons is in it.
Been brilliant.
It's got a great cast. It's got a banging cast.
Yeah.
But I didn't get much from them. I didn't feel like any of them gave career best performances or anything like that. I thought the premise was really good. If you like a good yarn, if you like a good plot, go see this movie. I just felt like it didn't quite deliver on the promise of that. I would have liked a bit more emotion. I would have liked a bit more, I don't know, just more camera work, something. If you like 12 Angry Men, you might like this. It's kind of in that genre, because I think that's a film that as well is very plot-based, good performances, but isn't known for its cinematography and its, exciting sequences.
Yeah, although this film, ventures outside of the courtroom or the deliberation room more than 12 Angry Men does. They go outside.
Yeah, they go outside.
They go to Nicholas Hoult's house.
But it's just, everything's just done very simply, efficiently. So if you like that, that doesn't put you off at all, but if you like me and you think cinema is a visual medium, you might find this a bit boring.
There's visuals, you can see things.
Yeah, but it's what we call standard coverage.
Yeah.
Which is basically just efficient coverage. Like, there's no tricks in this. There's no, special angles or extreme close-ups or
that's Clint.
Strong emotive score or anything.
So I think it came about from, I think he got frustrated working with Sergio Leone because Sergio would like spend time, framing things and stuff and doing shots.
Things
and then Clint was just like,
I could be back in my chair to eat cheese by now.
So because of Sergio Leone, Clint has decided to, just get these things done. He just likes to get things made.
If you like content, if you like watching films on your phone, you probably be fine with this. I just want a bit more. And I think the premise is so good. I do think it's a really interesting premise that we haven't gone into at all. But it's courtroom drama, moral dilemma of this jury member on this jury. I think the characters were quite flat as well. They could have been more well-rounded for me. There's one character that I really liked, actually. She's a podcast fan. She's on the jury. And I feel like that's the only concession to modernity in this film as well. There's this one woman that's really into podcasts.
That's the only thing that dates it when you think about it. That's a good point.
But I just find that quite funny. And it's fine. That's my analysis. It's a fine film, but you don't need to see it on the big screen.
I mean, I think I enjoyed it a bit more than you. I mean, I just love Clint, and I'm just so glad he's still making films. But yeah, it's by no means groundbreaking, just really solid, good stuff.
Solid,
So this is kind of very much a Sunday afternoon film, I think. One that will almost certainly be popular amongst the grandparents. But that's not an insult. Sometimes it's just nice to see a good story, well done. Well, simply done. Just made. But it's been doing well, and I'm very glad that if this does turn out to be Clint's last film, I hope it won't be, because I think he's got more in him still. Then I'm glad he's going out on a relatively high note, because people have been saying nice things. Because even I, a Clint stan, had to admit that Cry Macho was just not good. But, when I went to see that, I was the only one in the screening, and I was quick to figure out why. But this is solid, I think, and I'm glad it exists. I'm glad Clint exists, and I hope he continues to exist, and that he makes more films that exist.
1 Brums up from me. That's our rating system.
I'm giving it 2 Brums up. That's right.
It was fine.
There we go. So... Also, we've got to be quick with this, but...
But I'll be very quick because I didn't see much.
Anora, a modern twist on Pretty Woman, if you will. A tale of an exotic dancer / sex worker who has a whirlwind romance with, once again, a pesky Russian.
What is it with all this anti-Russian sentiment?
All these pesky Russians this week. So yeah, she has a whirlwind marriage with the son of a Russian oligarch, and then when his parents find out, they are not happy about it, and then a screwball comedy ensues. Apparently, yeah. So this is from Sean Baker, who I must admit I've not seen anything else of. So I've not seen The Florida Project or Tangerine, but I, for one, would like to see his other films after seeing this. Nadine, on the other hand, I don't think so.
I walked out after about an hour, and I never did. Guys, I've been going consistently to the cinema like every month for the past 3 years or something, and I haven't walked out of a single film in that time. I just did not care about these characters. I knew where it was going, so don't write in and go, oh my god, it was just about to get really good, because I'd seen the advert, so I knew stuff was about to kick off. But after an hour of really repetitive shots of like them playing video games and taking drugs and having sex and all of that, like just again and again and again, and like no character development whatsoever. I mean, the main character is supposedly Anora. She has no internal life. She's just a stripper with an annoying accent. And that's it. And But I will say one thing for her. She earns her money because that guy is the worst. If I had to spend more than 5 minutes in his company, you'd have to pay me as well. Because this guy, and he's not, what is annoying is that they don't really show, I didn't see why she's with him. Obviously, he's very, very rich. Maybe she really, really likes money. Maybe that's why she's with him. Or maybe she actually likes him as a person.
Yeah.
I don't know, because I don't think that's really explored in the film. Not to the point where I watched it.
Yeah, she never actually discusses it with anyone else.
Yeah, exactly. She doesn't. She has no internal life. And I don't mind if she's just in it for the money, if it's just about the hustle. And I don't mind if it's just like one of those whirlwind romances that you get in when you're young, that you look back at when you're old and go, what was that about? That guy was a jerk. But he's actually got a really nice face as well. He's very photogenic, but you wouldn't know because Sean Baker just tries to make him look like the biggest prong that you've ever seen. Like every scene is in it. And I'm like, I don't know how she laughs at his joke. She doesn't even make jokes. At one point they go to Vegas and he starts shouting at this hotelier. And then he's like, only joking. And you're like, ugh. I just, like, it's supposed to be funny. I didn't laugh once in the first hour. I felt liberated when I realised I didn't have to stick it out. And that I could just leave.
You were free to leave,
And then I just left and I felt really empowered.
Yeah.
And I went home and I watched Pretty Woman. I won't review that, but I was much more entertained by that.
Very good.
The soundtrack as well, sorry. The soundtrack is not very good.
I didn't like the soundtrack either, but I think the soundtrack was entirely appropriate for the film. Like, it fit the film. But yeah, I enjoyed it way more than you because... I just thought it was just really good fun and I think part of that was the surprise that I felt because I didn't really know what this was. I thought it was going to be a worthy art house film and all sad and stuff. But yeah, for the most part, it's just a farce. Like, it's a screwball comedy and it just wasn't what I expected at all. Because yeah, a lot of it is just following these pesky Russians just going around the city, getting into scrapes and japes whilst they try and, do something. And that wasn't what I expected. But I will say it definitely could have lost about 20 minutes. Like, the middle act is very repetitive. And then
the first half of the film.
Well, yeah. And then I thought the film was going to end way before it did end. But it does have a really powerful ending. But yeah, I think I just had a good time. I just enjoyed it. And that's what you want, isn't it?
Yeah. I mean, I kind of suspected I wouldn't like this film. And don't go solely on my review because lots and lots of people are loving. They're saying Oscars and everything for this. They're saying it's great, best film of the year. But I will say it belongs to a genre of film that I don't like. I don't know what the name of that genre is, but it includes films like Uncut Gems, probably all of Sean Baker's back catalogue.
Right, Anxiety Core.
I don't even know if it's that.
Right.
Because it's just people running around screaming like in tacky places.
Right.
I don't know. Like, I don't know what that genre is, but I don't like it. And but if you like Uncut Gems, if you like Sean Baker movies, and I don't know, other movies, what other movies are like this movie? I can't think. Oh, Spring Breakers was another film.
Yeah.
And it's not the subject matter, because I thought I'd really love Spring Breakers. I saw clips of it and stuff, but I couldn't, it's that style of filmmaking that I just can't get into. And this is, again, in that, like I said, I don't mind the subject matter. It is very grown up. Obviously, don't take any kids. There's lots of nudity in it and sex work.
Yeah.
But I just find it boring. More than anything, I find it boring and repetitive. But lots of people love it.
Yeah.
Don't listen to me. If you like Sean Baker, I'm sure you'll love this.
Yeah, I really liked it. And I really liked Uncut Gems, which is probably why. In fact, I loved Uncut Gems.
I didn't finish
5
that
stars. Wow. So yeah, that's why I like it. And that's why Nadine doesn't. So there you go. 2 Brums up for me. No Brums up for Nadine because he didn't even finish the film.
I shouldn't even review it, really.
Very good. Quickly as well, I want to mention Heretic, which of course we were talking about last week on the podcast in reference to Hugh Grant saying that he'd killed 3 people on the red carpet premiere. His words. We think he was lying. Anyway,
we're not sure.
We're not quite sure. But yes, this is written and directed by Scott Beck and Brian Woods, who wrote the story for A Quiet Place, and wrote and directed Nightlight and Haunt, which I've not seen, and also 65, the dinosaur film with Adam Driver, which I hated. But thankfully, I didn't hate this. I thought it was pretty good fun. So it follows two Jehovah's Witnesses, played by Sophie Thatcher from Boogeyman and Chloe East from The Fabelmans, and they are out and about trying to spread the word of Jesus. They turn up at Hugh Grant's house, and he's British. Yeah,
So he's evil.
he's evil. So the girls, they can't enter without a lady present, but Hugh claims that his wife is in the next room and she's cooking blueberry pie and everything's fine. So they're like,
wow,
we'll
that's
follow him
fine.
in. Yeah, exactly. But yes, unfortunately, it becomes quickly apparent that Hugh's up to no good, and is luring the girls into a game to force them to question their faith. So this is kind of a chamber piece in a way. So most of the film takes place in this one house, but the directors do their best to keep things visually interesting. The camera moves around an awful lot, so like sometimes it feels like they're trying too hard to make it visually interesting.
The opposite of Clint.
Yeah, exactly. So they've got cameras circling around people like constantly. I think they could have kept the camera still a bit more. Just have faith that we don't need it to move around just because it's in one room.
Yeah.
But hey, the main thing that elevates this is excellent performances, and this would be a far lesser film without these performances. Hugh Grant is he's becoming more and more of a national treasure by the day.
And a curmudgeon at the same time.
Exactly. He is just excellent, and he clearly loves playing a baddie, and I hope he plays more of them. Some of the best bits of the film are just close-ups of his face. So the whole film is basically a series of interesting philosophical and theological discussions. And there's a great scene where Hugh Grant is talking about how Radiohead ripped off the Hollies as an analogy for different iterations of religion. So it's dealing with some really weighty and interesting themes, like the origin of religion and whatnot.
And Radiohead.
But sometimes it does kind of feel like a theology graduate adapting their dissertation into a film. There's a lot of faux academic speeches and stuff. And the last act is quite silly and it falls apart a bit. But on the whole, I really enjoyed it. And once again, it's just nice to see an original film. Well done, A24.
Yeah.
I forgot it's another A24 film. But yeah, keep it up. It's worth watching for Hugh alone. So check it out. 2 Brums up from me. No. 1 Brum up. Sorry.
Okay.
1 Brum up. And also, I'm sorry, but we can't not mention this. Paddington in Peru.
Have you seen it?
Yeah, I went to see it last night.
Okay, so I won't be mentioning bits.
No. I'm just going to spend half an hour talking about Paddington, and then you can mention Blitz. No. Of course, we've had so much Paddington news on the show. We've got to mention Paddington. This time, Paddington, he goes to Peru. Which is really cool because I've been to Peru and I took Paddington with me. I've got a little stuffed Paddington and I took him to South America with me and I took him around Peru and I took pictures of Paddington in Peru.
So you basically directed this movie.
I basically directed this movie, and there's bits set in Machu Picchu. Well, not set in Machu Picchu. There's bits filmed in Machu Picchu, and they actually filmed in Machu Picchu, which I find insane because they're quite strict on what you can do at Machu Picchu because it's I know. Well, yeah, it's a sacred site. Like when I was there, they wouldn't let people come in with ponchos and stuff because it was disrespectful. But here they are letting Paddington run around and causing causing havoc. So it's all right for Paddington.
Marmalade all over the temple.
Yeah, exactly.
Sticky paws.
So that's mad. So yeah, Paddington. He gets a letter saying that Aunt Lucy, and she's in the home for retired bears. She's not been feeling herself lately and would really appreciate a visit from Paddington. So Paddington goes over and then, Aunt Lucy's gone missing. So he's got to find Aunt Lucy. And of course, he brings the Browns with them and he gets into all sorts of scrapes and japes. And of course, this is a Peru, having been to Peru, this is not a Peru that I recognize. But nor is the London of Paddington a London that I recognize. So that's fine. It's the Paddington world.
Paddington verse.
That's right. Now, I got to say, this is the first one that they've done without Paul King. King, who directed the first two Paddingtons. And also Simon Farnaby is no longer writing. He's just got a story credit. So, yeah.
And the mum isn't in it.
No, yeah. Sally Phillips has left, and now it's Emily Mortimer, which is a bit weird. But unfortunately, they've still got the same kids. Which is just, I don't like that, because it just makes you sad when children are grown up and you're like, oh, time has passed. We're old, and like, yeah, they're all weird.
Do a cartoon and then they never have to grow up.
Exactly. But yeah, as you all know, Paddington 1 and 2, 5-star, stone cold classics, 2 of the greatest films ever made. Unfortunately, Paddington in Peru just doesn't have that same kind of magic, and it's kind of, there's something, it's quite hard to put your finger on, but it's just like,
it's Paul King and it's the mum, and it's
Paul King's not there, and Simon Farnaby's not there, and of course, like, I'm not the first person to make this analysis of it. Is the whole point of Paddington is that he's a fish out of water, causing chaos in polite society. But by sending Paddington back to the jungle where he's from, and I was thinking this as I was watching the films, I was like, well, you know, Paddington's going to be all right. He's from the jungle. How is he going to be, you know, confused by the jungle when he's a bear? He's from the jungle.
He's British now.
He's British now.
He's got his passport.
He does. But he wasn't that young when he came over from, you know, he remembers what it was like to be a bear in the jungle. But anyway, so yeah, this doesn't have there's the slapstick in there, but it seems more kind of focused on action and stuff. But it is still really fun. And I don't know, because I was watching the film and I was like, oh, am I just older? Am I just more cynical? Am I just in a bad mood? Why isn't this hitting as hard? But having said that, by the end, I was still in floods of tears. Just again, audibly crying. So
that's just normal for you.
That is just normal. But no, because I was kind of disappointed that I hadn't cried for most of the film. Because as we said on the show before, I spent most of Paddington 2 just in floods of tears from the start. But this one took about 90 minutes to make me cry. But when I did cry, it was that kind of where I was just conscious that people could hear me. Just like, it wasn't like a single tear down the cheek. It was just like audible sobbing, and so it clearly did work emotionally eventually, and it still is. You know, you got to take your kids. I wish it all the success in the world. It's still a lovely film. It's just not Paddington 1 and Paddington 2. So there you go. Also, stick around for the end credits.
Okay,
that's all I say. So there you go. That's Paddington. Go see it.
Okay,
but it's not as amazing. So.
1.5.
1.5 Brums. Rory says we're not allowed to do half Brum.
Rory isn't here.
Rory's not here, so 1.5 Brums up. There you go. Thanks for that. Nadine, I believe you want to say that Rory is full of
I'm not the first. Yeah, I just want to quickly mention a film that I've seen. I don't want to go on too long about it because we've done so many reviews, but there's been a lot of great films out, a lot of middling films as well that we've gone to see. But I went to see Blitz, a We Are Parable screening at the Everyman. There was a saxophonist there. They gave us free popcorn. Maybe that has slightly influenced my review. I don't know. But I'm just going to say out the gate, it was 2 thumbs up from me. Mm-hmm. So if you
Brums up, sorry.
2 Brums up, sorry, from me. If you've listened to the show previously, you'll know Rory went to see it, and you can listen to his arguments about why he didn't think it was great. But I loved it. It really hit home for me. And just like Paddington, I was in floods of tears. Well, I wasn't in floods of tears, but I cried about literally 5 or 6 times during this film, which I think is a marker of a great film.
Yeah.
I found it really engaging. I was really immersed in this world. It's set in World War II during the Blitz period. And straight out the gate, I'm like, whoa. It was like, there's this fire, there's these firemen trying to put the fire out. It's really edge of your seat stuff that I wish, more of had been in some of the other films that we'd seen. So I really felt engaged throughout this film, and my mind wanders really easily, but it didn't during this. It's an odyssey. It's about this young boy who gets sent away to the countryside to be safe, and he travels back to London by himself to be with his mum, and he gets into lots of scrapes and japes as well. Well, not so many japes, but lots of scrapes. But it really brought home the danger and the fear that people must have had to live through that time. And I think a lot of films set in that period don't. There's a lot of that, keep calm and carry on, Blitz spirit type stuff. And, we're all British, stiff upper lip. We don't get that in this film. It really makes it feel immediate, there's a lot of wars going on, unfortunately, around the world at the moment. And you think about how terrible it must be for children and parents and families to go through that. As a mum myself, as a single mum who had to raise my daughter by myself, this really hit home very personally for me. And there were many moments of the child being in danger. He's a great actor, by the way, that just hit home. And I think one moment that really got to me was when she says goodbye to him at the train station, and he's really angry with her. And he won't say goodbye, and she's really desperate for them to have this moment because they might not see each other again. There's a war going on, and he's just upset that, he can't be at home with his mom and play cricket with his friends, and he's just a bit mean to her. He's a kid. He doesn't understand properly. But that just really hit a nerve for me and got me teared up, and lots of exciting things happen and lots of scary things happen. And I just really loved it. Saoirse Ronan, great singer as well. Sings in a British accent. And Paul Weller's in it. And I didn't even realise it was him until after. And he's really good in it. So I really, really enjoyed it. I won't say much more than that. But
yeah. So there, Rory.
Yeah.
Yeah,
but not
that's
for
Rory
everyone.
Toll.
But I thought it was amazing.
Yeah, very good, very good. I might get round to seeing that. Actually, whilst we're talking about bleak war films, I watched for the first time the other day, Threads.
I don't know what that is.
Oh, it's about a nuclear bomb that falls on Sheffield in the 80s.
Oh.
It's like really realistic and really bleak. It's one of the bleakest.
Is that one with the guy with the thing on his face?
There is a bit with a guy with a thing on his face, but it's one of the bleakest films I've ever seen. It was harrowing. So I recommend that. It's on iPlayer at the moment.
I'll
Made
watch that.
1984. But yeah. Oof. Yeah. There you go.
What a year.
What a year. So lots of films to be watching at your local cinemas.
Yes, no excuses.
Yeah.
There's loads of stuff out at the moment.
Loads.
Go watch them.
There we go. So yes, that is about all we've got time for this week. But we've just got time for Nadine's roundup of local events.
Okay, we've got lots of really exciting things coming up. Do check out our socials. Check out Another Bite of a Cherry. Check out at ScreenB14 to keep up to date with all the latest. But here's some of the amazing things that are going on in November. On the 18th, we've talked about it already. Another Bite of the Cherry will be showing House of Flying Daggers. I highly recommend this film. 20th anniversary screening, not available on streaming, exquisitely beautiful. That will be at the Mockingbird from 8 p.m. on the 18th of November. On the 20th of November, Overlap Social will be returning to Norton's Digbeth. So if you like your animation, if you like your animated shorts, do check it out. It is a fun night. On the 25th of November, Screen B14 will be showing Double Indemnity for Noirvember. We've talked about noir films before on the podcast. That will also be at the Mockingbird. On the 28th of November, Sturchley Open Cinema will be having a short screening as part of their Film and Food Festival. So do check out Sturchley Open Cinema and their festival that's happening right now. I'll be there on the 28th showing my film, Rushed. I'll be taking part in a Q&A afterwards with other filmmakers such as Carl Woods, and that will be at the Birmingham Brewing Company. Do check out Sturchley Open Cinema's socials for tickets. On the 30th of November, Soul City Arts will be showing Blade Runner in Sparkbrook, Unit 1, Port Hope Road. This looks fantastic. Tickets are only $5. They're really going to dress it up and make it look really neon and cool. And I think I might check that out as well if I get a chance. And the 14th of December, Friendly Neighbourhood Cinema is back with In Bruges at St. Thomas's Church. So you get to watch In Bruges in a church. It's like you're in the movie, sort of. And that's going to be really cool and kind of an immersive screening. So check that out as well.
Very good. Some exciting stuff coming up, as always. Well, there we go. That is it for yet another episode of the Brum Picture Show. Thanks very much for joining us. As always, do be sure to join us next time when we can actually announce this. We're going to be talking about epic films.
Woo! It's going to be an epic episode.
That's right. But in the meantime, it's goodbye from me, Paul.
It's goodbye from me, Nadine. Goodbye.
Goodbye.
You're waiting for Rory.
Yeah.
You have been listening to The Brum Picture Show, a Screen B14 production for Brum Radio. Tune in next time for more film fun, and don't forget to email us at pictureshow@brumradio.com. Thanks for listening. Goodbye.
I was going to do a bit where we did like a fake kung fu fight, but I can't be asked to edit that.
Just put
the sound effect. So, please can we do Paddington Nadine?
Thank you for listening to this Brum Radio podcast. Don't forget to subscribe and rate us on your podcast app.